अस्सलाम वालेकुम। प्रोग्राम एम्बेसी रोड में खुश आमदीद। नाज़रीन, आज हमारे मेहमान हैं पाकिस्तान में USAID के डायरेक्टर डॉक्टर एंड्रू बी सिसन। वो पाकिस्तान में अमरीकी इमदाद के प्रोग्राम के सरबराह हैं और मुख्तलिफ शोबों में वो हमारी मदद कर रहे हैं। तवानाई के शोबे में, तालीम और सेहत के शोबों में और मुख्तलिफ शोबों में USAID की तरफ से वो हमारी मदद कर रहे हैं। इक़्तिसादी तरक्की के एतबार से, समाजी तरक्की के एतबार से हमारा जो ये USAID का इदारा है एक अरसा से पाकिस्तान में फ़ाल है और मुख्तलिफ शोबों में वो मदद दे रहा है। लेकिन इसके बारे में कई सवालात हैं कि USAID पाकिस्तान में क्या कर रही है, इसका एजेंडा क्या है, इस पे हम बात करेंगे डायरेक्टर साहब से। थैंक यू डायरेक्टर फॉर जॉइनिंग दिस प्रोग्राम। वुड यू लाइक टू एक्सप्लेन टू आवर व्यूअर्स what is the nature of USAID in Pakistan? Because some people think that this is also woven into the political agenda of the United States in this country.
Javed, thank you very much for inviting me to your show. It's a great pleasure to meet you and have a chance to talk with your viewers and to explain a bit about what U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, is doing in Pakistan, what we hope to achieve, what we are achieving, and why. So we've been here since 1961, when John F. Kennedy created USAID, and our job is to promote development, and long-term sustainable development in Pakistan and in 100 countries across the world. You asked about foreign policy and politics. Yes, USAID does support our foreign policy, and one of our foreign policy objectives is to promote long-term sustainable development and to build partnerships between the United States and other countries like Pakistan. That's why we're here.
But it's not being used as a tool to manipulate politics and foreign policy objectives in a country where you are operating.
Absolutely not. We're here to we design our programs in cooperation with Pakistanis. We don't dream up these ideas by ourselves, and every single program is implemented by Pakistani leaders, either in the government or very much in the private sector.
Who fixes the priorities of the USAID in Pakistan? Which sector is more important for the USAID operations? That is determined by USAID or the government of Pakistan?
It's determined in partnership, dialogue with the government. So it is, for instance, our top priority in Pakistan is energy. That is the top priority that's been expressed repeatedly by your senior government officials to our leaders. But also when we meet private sector leaders, industrialists, we meet households, everybody, almost everybody, talks about energy, shortages, blackouts, how it creates unemployment, unhappy people on the streets. It's very obvious to us that this is the top priority for our programs here, and we've agreed that that should be our top priority.
So what are you doing in the energy sector? Because Pakistan, as you have said, is facing a huge energy crisis. Industry is affected, households are affected, and a lot of hue and cry. So what are your priorities here?
Well, first, let me just mention that we've been working with Pakistan in the energy sector since the 1970s. And we helped build the Mangla and Tarbela dams, which even today play a huge contribution, make a huge contribution.
What was exactly your contribution in building Mangla and Tarbela? Because the perception here in Pakistan is that it was largely financed by World Bank.
We were not the largest financier, but a very large financier for both projects. Now, let's turn to today. We're investing in 3 hydropower plants, Gomulzam, Satpara, and in an interesting turn of events, now renovating the power generation facilities at Tarbela Dam. In addition, we're investing in the renovation of 3 thermal power plants, Gudu, Jamshoro, and Muzaffargarh. So already through these 6 investments, which are well advanced. We've already added almost 400 megawatts to the grid. And over the next year or so, we plan to add another 500 megawatts, just through those 6 investments. In addition, in the energy sector, we're working with farmers to introduce more energy-efficient tube wells. For farmers that already have tube well pumps, we're helping them replace the pumps with more electricity-efficient pumps. Already we've saved 8 megawatts because of that investment. We plan to expand it greatly. The third element of our energy program is what we call, it focuses on policy and governance. There are certainly needs for more investment in supply and many opportunities to reduce demand through efficiency like tube wells. But it's also important that the Pakistan government improves the management of the electricity sector. So, for instance, there aren't so many line losses. Also, there are policy issues. So we have considerable dialogue with your leadership. We have a lot of, we learn from the private sector, and we talk with the government. And we're making investments with the government, for instance, in the power generating companies, the power distribution companies, looking at doing, for instance, we've carried out audits in all of those companies to establish baselines and work with those companies on management plans to improve their performance. We're also amenable to introducing new technology, such as smart meters that will help improve collection rates. So governance and policy along with supply and demand side.
You want total restructuring of the current energy supply, energy production, energy distribution system, or you want some changes, reforms done to that?
We believe that significant change is needed, but the Pakistan government is very well aware of these issues. When we meet your leaders and your technical experts, they understand very well what the problems are, whether it's the circular debt down to employment levels in the power plants and the need for renovation, line losses, electricity theft. The issues are well understood, and the government's already identified priorities for reform. And those priorities are reasonable. And we and the other donors, it's not USAID alone, we work with the other donors to support the government in these reforms. But ultimately, it's the government that is responsible.
The Pakistani government is planning to build another mega project, Basha South.
We're considering it very intensively. We're participating with the Asian Development Bank this week in a mission, in meetings with WAPDA and other officials to look at the feasibility, to have discussions with the government. We are.
वेलकम बैक। हमारी बात हो रही है पाकिस्तान में USAID के डायरेक्टर से। वो मैं बता रहे हैं कि पाकिस्तान में जो एनर्जी का सेक्टर है, तवानाई का शोबा है, उसके लिए वो उसको तरजीह दे रहे हैं और वो पाकिस्तान की मदद कर रहे हैं। कम से कम 1000 मेगावाट बिजली जो है मजीद हमारे सिस्टम में पैदा हो सके। वेलकम बैक एम्बेसडर डायरेक्टर, कैन यू जस्ट define other areas where you are helping us, the second priority, which is education, health, economic growth, what?
Well, let's talk about any of those. Economic growth is our second priority, and economic growth must include agriculture here in Pakistan because agriculture is at the heart of your economy. We are investing on many fronts. Every single project I mentioned, whether it's in energy or economics or agriculture, every program involves a Pakistani partner. You see in our symbol here a handshake. Yeah. And that represents partnership. It's not just AID staff out there doing the projects. It's actually Pakistanis. So, for instance, in the agriculture sector, we're investing in irrigation, building irrigation systems below the Gomulzam Dam and below the Satpara Dam. This will help hundreds of thousands of families have higher income agriculture.
In what way? What is the mechanism?
Well, first, they're going to get irrigation, which means a controlled supply of water. In addition, with local Pakistani partners, we're going to help the farmers learn about high-efficiency irrigation. And then with other Pakistani partners, we're going to work with those farmers on producing higher-value crops and marketing them so they earn more money.
That means you are providing seeds as well to farmers, or you are providing only guidance to produce more and produce high-quality agricultural production?
It depends on the project. For these two irrigation projects, the most important input we're providing is a reliable source of water, as well as technical advice, training, and linkages, helping them network. But we have had other programs, many other programs, where we provide seeds and other inputs. Besides our long-term priority areas, which is, as you reeled off several, energy, economic growth, agriculture, health, education, we also help Pakistan if there's an emergency.
Like floods?
Like the earthquake in 2005, the flood in 2010, and yet again the flood in 2011. So let me just talk about the flood in 2010, because it was an epic flood for Pakistan. The USAID provided approximately $550 million in assistance last year. It's all spent for supporting Pakistan in its time of need. And in addition to helping save lives with water, shelter, health care, and food.
That is in case of floods.
For the flood, these are to help millions of families survive. Clean water, health, shelter, food. That's like the immediate emergency needs. We also provided inputs, wheat seed, sunflower seed, fertilizer, to at least 500,000, I think 600,000 farm families, to help them get back on their feet to have an agricultural crop, so that they would not be always in need of food aid, but they could restore their livelihoods. That program was a great success. We went from a situation where we were afraid that, and the Pakistani government was afraid that these farmers would have nothing, to a crop which was 60% higher production. And that's because they had seeds and fertilizer that were high quality and on time. And the benefit of those seeds will last for 3 more farm seasons. So that's an example of a program where we've provided inputs that's helped farmers.
On the education side, what are you doing? Are you building schools? You are helping the government of Pakistan to improve the curricula or the syllabus that is being taught here in Pakistani in education institutions. What is your program?
We have 2 basic priorities, 2 main thrusts of our education program in Pakistan. Basic education, including primary and secondary school, as well as higher education, meaning universities. And we work with provinces primarily on basic education, and with universities largely through the Higher Education Commission on higher education issues. Let me just mention again, historically, we are very proud of 4 very prominent universities that we helped establish in Pakistan. LUMS, Lahore University of Management Sciences, IBA, Institute of Business Administration in Karachi, University of Faisalabad, and Jinnah Postgraduate Center. So those 4 are institutions that we helped set up decades ago, which are still highly respected.
They're working very well, yes.
Now today, we are working with Higher Education Commission to identify 3 more universities to establish centers of excellence in water, energy, and agriculture. And they will partner with U.S. academic institutions to promote excellence. It could be curriculum development, faculty development, and high quality research which will be applied to Pakistan's needs. Also in higher education, Pakistan has the largest Fulbright program, which we fund, in the world. So we're sending over 100 Pakistanis every year to the United States for master's degree and PhDs. Virtually all of them come back. Most of them work in academic institutions, and it's a wonderful long-term investment. We have another program through the Higher Education Commission, which is funding 400 scholarships a year for needy but highly qualified students in Pakistan to study at Pakistani institutions. It could be plant entomology, it could be engineering, and kids from the FATA may go to Faisalabad. So that's another program underway. At the basic education level, we now have a large program with the government of Sindh. Just as the government of Pakistan has decentralized education, we also follow that lead and we decentralize. So we have a program with the government of Sindh which will finance school reconstruction, both schools that were destroyed in the floods in 2010, as well as new schools to support the Sindh government's program of what they call school consolidation. But in addition, we're working on developing literacy programs, community mobilization, so more kids, especially girls, go to school and get a high-quality education.
What about the syllabus? Are you helping the government of Pakistan to modernize the syllabus or to make any changes in that?
No, I'm not aware of our doing that right now. If that's a priority of the province, we'll consider it. Let me mention another basic education program that's going to start in 2 days. It's called Pakistan Children's TV, which involves puppets. And it will be broadcast on TV throughout the country. It will be in the 5 major languages of Pakistan. And it's being produced by Rafi Peer in Lahore. Yeah. And kids will learn basic education skills like literacy and numeracy. But it will also be a wonderful opportunity for them to learn about life, kids and families from all parts of the country, not just where they grew up. And we think it'll be a nice way for them to just learn about the rich tapestry of the culture of Pakistan.
Director, can you just tell us that your focus on education is rural area or the urban area? Because in Pakistan, there is an imbalance between rural and urban areas in terms of education. Here we have good schools, private schools, and the focus of the government is on cities. Are you doing something to improve the education, basic education in the rural areas, because that is considered to be a neglected area by and large?
Yes, indeed. In Sindh, we've picked 7 districts in cooperation with the government. Actually, it's been agreed by the government. They identified the districts, but most of those districts are in Upper Sindh. In addition, we have a smaller component focusing on neglected areas of Karachi. So it's true, as you say, that in the urban areas, many kids have the opportunity to go to private schools. But we believe it's important also to help the government upgrade public schools, particularly for those kids who can't afford private schools. And there's that need not only in the northern districts of Sindh, but also in neglected areas of Karachi. I should also mention we've helped rebuild or renovate approximately 350 schools in the Malakand, Swat, other areas of KP as a result of to respond to natural disasters or conflict. And again, most of that is in rural areas.
We'll take a short break here. नाज़रीन एक मुख्तसर ब्रेक लेते हैं. ब्रेक से वापसी के बाद हम पाकिस्तान में USAID के डायरेक्टर से मज़ीद गुफ्तगू जो है वो जारी रखेंगे. वेलकम बैक। हमारे साथ हैं पाकिस्तान में यूएसएआईडी के डायरेक्टर और वो बता रहे हैं कि पाकिस्तान में यूएसएआईडी क्या कर रही है, किस तरह के मंसूबे जो है उन पर इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रही है और पाकिस्तान की किस तरह से इमदाद कर रही है। Director, can you just tell us what is going on in health sector, because health sector is another sector which is neglected largely by the government of Pakistan. So are you doing something here also?
We're very engaged in the health sector. We were working very much with the federal government, and as the government decided, the Pakistani people decided to devolve health to the provinces, we've been working very closely with both the federal and the provincial administrations to help them determine how best to execute the devolution process. So we have been providing technical assistance at both levels to figure that out. In addition, we've been providing training to lady health workers. We've been very engaged in immunization programs, clean water, family planning, such as supply of contraceptives, but also training. So we work on those vertical programs, but now we are very engaged in helping provinces better identify and manage those programs in an integrated way at the provincial level, which is relatively new under decentralization.
Are you also identifying the lacuna, the deficit that you find in the overall health sector in Pakistan, and advise the government of Pakistan or the provincial governments that they should take this step 1, 2, 3 to improve the health sector in Pakistan?
Well, as I said, we've already helped them at a policy level in terms of figuring out decentralization and what are the gaps. Now that we're focusing on the provinces, we're most focused on Sindh. We will be most focused on
What's
Sindh.
the reason why your focus is on Sindh?
Well, the needs are great. And as you know, Punjab has said they do not need our assistance working with the government of Punjab, whereas Sindh, they welcome us, and we'll go where we're needed.
What about Balochistan, KPK? They're also very backward and they need a lot of help.
It's possible, but right now the priority is Sindh. It's the largest of those provinces. We have a very interested partner. We're not ruling out the other provinces. We'll see. Let me also mention that while we will work with provincial governments to hear what they say their priorities are and their needs, and then we'll step in as possible. We're also helping build a couple of hospitals or expand hospitals, the Jinnah Hospital as well as in Jacobabad. And those projects will be done in the next year or so.
You said that this USAID institution was introduced in Pakistan back in 1961. And you have been helping Pakistan in economic field and also in other fields. What is the overall impact of USAID on the growth of Pakistan? Have you been able to create a change, make a difference in Pakistan?
I believe we have, but it's not easy to measure. We played, among others, but the USAID played a major role in introducing the Green Revolution to Pakistan, such as through introducing improved varieties of wheat in the 1960s.
Back 60s.
In the 60s. Now, that has had a lasting impact on the agricultural sector. As I mentioned, we're the major investors in 4 prominent universities in Pakistan. It's hard to calculate the economic benefit, but I have met many excellent leaders who were educated in those institutions, who have played an enormous role in Pakistan's growth and prosperity. So I'd say those are 2 major areas. Similarly, Tarbela Dam and Mangla Dam. Those 2 dams were when they were built, I don't know the exact numbers, but greatly increased Pakistan's energy production. It transformed the energy sector when those were completed. That's vital for economic growth.
And what about the social sector that you have invested in for so many years? You think that you have been able to contribute substantially to improve the health of the people of Pakistan, and you have been able to improve the educational standards in a way?
I think we have a lot more work to do in education and health. It's easier to see the results from a dam or improved wheat production or wonderful universities like LUMS that are still producing excellent students year after year. In education and health, there are a lot of challenges in those two systems. And it's not USAID's responsibility to improve those systems. It's our responsibility to help Pakistan improve those systems. And Pakistan, starting with the government, should invest more of the budget in those two sectors, a larger share of its budget. We can't be a substitute for that. We can help their leaders, their policy reformers, improve the sector. We can find excellent Pakistani NGOs who want to make a contribution. But the government has to lead. And we are encouraging that leadership at the provincial level, but ultimately it falls to them.
You're also partnering with some private sector NGOs in Pakistan. Is it so?
Yes.
And when you do that, you think that the money that you're spending or the project that you are doing is honestly being executed, or the money is going down the drain, or it is benefiting the people who you want to benefit? Is there any mechanism to, make the people accountable that the money is not gone wasted?
Yes, we have many mechanisms to safeguard that. But since you brought up our support to Pakistani NGOs, let me just take a moment to explain what it is we're doing. We have several projects to promote the role of Pakistani NGOs in Pakistan's future. We provide grants to NGOs to work in areas like promoting women's rights and gender equity, promoting the role of NGOs on advocating for citizens' interests on key issues like energy or water or agriculture. We also invest in NGOs as they carry out investments that are of priority to their communities. So it could be, for instance, we were just in villages outside Multan where we met NGOs and community leaders that we were supporting to rebuild water systems that were damaged or destroyed following the 2010 flood. We also work with Pakistani NGOs on emergency relief efforts. So Pakistani NGOs are making an important contribution to Pakistan, the emergency response as well as long-term development, and we're proud to support that. Now, what kind of safeguards do we have? Well, before we make a grant to any organization, whether it's to the government or to a private organization, we have a careful assessment process to look at their systems of transparency, accountability, financial management, procurement systems to make sure that procurements are done competitively, fairly, and transparently. And if those systems are not up to standard, a high standard, then they need to be raised to that standard, or we need to take preventive measures so that there aren't problems. So we do that kind of preventive work up front. In addition, we monitor very carefully whether it's the government building a dam or renovating a power plant, an NGO to...
There's a mechanism in place, accountability mechanism.
Many. Now, one that many of your viewers have probably already taken advantage of is something we call the Transparency International Hotline. Transparency International is a Pakistani NGO based in Karachi, and we have a program with them where they have a hotline. It's well advertised, and already over 1,000 Pakistanis have sent emails or phone calls. It can be anonymous making complaints. They see a USAID project and they feel that some NGO or a government partner is doing something improper. They make an allegation, a complaint. And we follow up every single one of those. In fact, it's not my office that does that, but we have an independent office of the U.S. Inspector General who follows up. And that leads to either an investigation where there may be some nefarious activity going on. We've had a couple of those investigations actually are now underway. But often what the complaints turn out to be is bad service. So a farmer in a flood zone will see that that village is getting their seeds, but we haven't yet received our seeds. Where are they? And it may be a USAID project, and maybe another project, but then we tell that NGO,
we'll have to
fix it.
take a short break here and then we'll come back. नाज़रीन एक मुख्तसर ब्रेक लेते हैं और ब्रेक से वापसी के बाद हम गुफ्तगू का ये सिलसिला जो है जारी रखेंगे. वेलकम बैक. नाज़रीन हम बात कर रहे हैं पाकिस्तान में USAID के डायरेक्टर से डॉक्टर एंड्रयू बी सिसन से. You just said that you are partnering with NGOs. There is an allegation by certain circles, they're very critical of these NGOs, and they think that these NGOs are promoting a typical US or Western agenda. You have some comments on this?
I disagree. When we award grants, it's through a very transparent process. And for many of our activities, it's actually a wide open competition. Those programs I cited before, most of those grants are awarded through a wide open competition that's advertised, and the criteria for selection are well known. It's even on our website. So what we're doing is within very broad parameters, like we are seeking interest in working on the energy sector or gender equity. It's their proposals, not our proposals. It's their proposals, their ideas, however they may come up, that we're funding. And we're getting hundreds of applications. So the smaller number that get funded are actually excellent. They're well thought through, and that's what we fund.
Do you take care of the fact that some circles in Pakistan or elsewhere in the world where you're operating are critical of the methodology, the ideology of USAID? You have some problems here in Pakistan where you are basically pressurized through criticism on USAID, or you continue doing your job thinking that it is a great mission?
Well, that's one reason why I'm so appreciative to you that you invited me on your show, because I think information and open communication is very important so that people understand each other. Yes, we are very well aware that many Pakistanis are unhappy with Americans or the American government and our policy. However, as I will consistently reiterate, the symbol of U.S. aid is the handshake. Everything we do is in partnership with Pakistanis. When I mentioned those energy projects that we're financing, not only was the overall priority identified and urged by the leadership of your country, and it's very consistent, but every one of those projects was identified by your government. When we're building roads in the Fatah, we're investing in energy in KP or in Sindh or Punjab, when we're investing in irrigation canals, when we're investing in education, every one of those priorities is coming from Pakistan. Every program design we do with Pakistanis. The implementation is done by Pakistanis, even as I mentioned with the NGOs. So this is not U.S. aid and just Americans just throwing out ideas and pushing our agenda. It's partnership.
And the agenda is drawn up by the government of Pakistan and USAID jointly.
Ultimately, yes, though much of what we do is in the private sector. And in that case, the government overall endorses it, but all of the program work is done with the private sector. So example, education, it's public sector. But we've done a lot of work in the last couple of years on mangoes, where we've helped hundreds of mango farmers in Punjab and Sindh increase their production and the quality of their production, the processing, and even the export. So as a result of our program, exports to Europe have skyrocketed, and now for the first time Pakistani mangoes are in the United States markets as well. We are very proud of that. That program is 100% private sector. Opportunities are there. So the methodology of partnership, evaluation, close monitoring, learning from experience, those are basic principles that we will apply for decades to come. But the specifics on what we'll do will change, because that's what our partners will tell us they need. The realities on the ground will change.
You mentioned that you want to build a long-lasting partnership with Pakistan. There were periods in Pakistan when USAID stopped helping Pakistan. They just called it a day, and the offices were closed down. So in future, do you think you're positive that this will not happen and this partnership will continue and grow?
I hope we will be here for the long term. Ultimately, what happens to the USAID program will depend on your government and the U.S. government. And I expect that we will be here for years to come. We've certainly appreciated that the closing of the USAID program in the 90s did not help us or Pakistan. That's a clear lesson. We need to be here for the long term. We are investing in that way. We are still recruiting some staff. You haven't asked me about the composition of USAID, how we're structured or how we're organized. But let me just mention to you that most of our staff, over 3/4 of our staff, are Pakistani, who understand this country far, far better than any visitor ever will. And most of those Pakistani staff have huge responsibilities. Many of them have the same project management responsibilities that American staff do. We have more Pakistani project managers than American project managers. So our irrigation projects, our energy projects, our health projects, many of those are run by Pakistanis. That's part of our long-term commitment here.
नाज़रीन, आज आपने गुफ्तगू सुनी है इस प्रोग्राम में पाकिस्तान में USAID के डायरेक्टर डॉक्टर एंड्रू बी सिसन से, और उन्होंने बताया कि किस तरह USAID पाकिस्तान में अपना काम कर रही है, किस तरह वो पार्टनरशिप के ज़रिए पाकिस्तान के तवानाई के सेक्टर को, तालीम को और सेहत के शोबे में वो हमारी मदद कर रही है। उनका ख्याल है कि हम अब शायद कभी वो गलतियां नहीं दोहराएंगे जो माजी में हमने दोहराई थी। 1990 की दहाई में USAID के दफातर बंद कर दिए गए, जिससे पाकिस्तान और अमेरिका के ताल्लुकात को नुकसान पहुंचा। उन्हें उम्मीद है कि मौजूदा जो पार्टनरशिप है और जो मौजूदा हमारा एक ताल्लुक और ये तावन है, ये जारी रहेगा, क्योंकि अमेरिका पाकिस्तान के साथ लॉन्ग टर्म फ्रेंडशिप और पार्टनरशिप जो है वो कायम करना चाहता है। इसी के साथ ये प्रोग्राम ख़त्म होता है। जावेद सिद्दीक को इजाज़त दीजिए। खुदा हाफिज़।